The movie begins outside the Kingsman shop with Eggsy, who was suddenly approached by Charlie, a former participant of the Kingsman who had failed. Charlie suddenly held Eggsy hostage and told him to get inside the car. As soon as they entered the car, Eggsy attacked Charlie and told the driver to move on. As they began to fight in the car, Charlie's subordinates were pursuing their car. Charlie, who had a mechanical arm, was able to have the upper hand in the fight, but due to the driver, who was hurt in the process, he was thrown out of the car with his mechanical arm hanging in the car. Eggsy suddenly took over the car, and he was able to escape from the cars that surrounded him. As they continued pursuing him, he talked to Merlin to give him permission to blow out the enemy's car, but he was denied access. However, Merlin helped him to successfully enter Hyde Park, and he was given permission to blow them up since he was in a black zone. As soon as he blew them up, Merlin told him to escape through a river, as the police would soon catch up to him. Eggsy had no choice but to enter the river with the car, despite the car not having a windshield. When the police came, they saw no one. In the river, Eggsy controlled the car to change into submarine mode, and he was able to drive the car to the base. On getting out of the car, he told Merlin that he had a dinner he couldn't afford to miss, so he needed a way out. However, Merlin told him that he had to wait for the police to clear the park or go through the sewer. Without hesitating, he entered the sewer. Meanwhile, in the car, Charlie's mechanical arm that was hanging moved on its own, and it downloaded all the King's data via the car. On getting home, Eggsy's girlfriend, Tilda, was surprised that he looked dirty, and after cleaning up, they celebrated a birthday for their friend Brandon, in which some of their other friends were present. They enjoyed themselves, and in the process, he told them that he's meeting Tilda's parents tomorrow, and he needs someone to look after JB, his dog. Brandon later agreed to look after the dog on the condition that Eggsy drink with them, which Eggsy agreed to do. Somewhere else in the middle of nowhere, a woman was talking to two men, telling them about the Golden Circle and how she was in charge of the drug market all over the world. Then the woman, Miss Poppy, asked Charles, one of the men who had a golden circle mark on his chest, if his other friend was worthy of joining them, which he affirmed. After that, Miss Poppy decided to cook for them, and in the process, she told the newcomer Angel that her order was absolute, and since Charles had messed up, he should put Charles in the mincing machine. Then Miss Poppy told him to go to the next building, where he was given a makeover, and the golden circle mark was imprinted on his chest. After that, he was given a burger that was made out of Charles' meat to eat, which he did, even though he was reluctant. The next day, Eggsy had a debrief about the incident the previous day with Merlin and Lancelot, which is a code name for a lady and their boss, too. They talk about how Charlie escaped death in the past, and how he's now working with a secret organization. Later in the night, Eggsy had dinner with Tilda's parents, who were the Queen and King of England. The king tried to humiliate Eggsy with some questions, but he was able to answer them correctly due to his eyeglasses, which gave him access to speak with Lancelot on the answers to the questions. Meanwhile, Brandon, who came to look after JB's Eggsy dog, found Eggsy's secret compartment by mistake, and he wore one of Eggsy's glasses, where he saw Tilda and her parents. Then he questioned if Eggsy is a gangster. However, Eggsy, who saw Brandon open a lighter that was beeping, shouted at him to shut the lighter, but Tilda and her parents thought he was shouting at them. After Brandon shut the lighter, Eggsy realized that he had messed up, and he tried to explain himself to them. However, at that moment, a missile blew up his house where Brandon and JB were, and there were also several missiles that blew up Kingsman shop and their other bases, and it turns out that it was Miss Poppy who caused the various explosions. As a reward, she gave Charlie another mechanical arm that was better than the previous one. At the explosion site of the Kingsman shop, Eggsy was looking at the rubble when he suddenly saw Merlin, but he pointed a gun at him, and he questioned how it was possible that he was not present when the explosion occurred. However, the two of them were able to come to the understanding that there was no traitor among the two of them. Merlin then explained to Eggsy that they were hacked by Charlie's mechanical arm that was controlled remotely, and since they were the only surviving Kingsman members present, they had to follow the Doomsday Protocol, after which they went to a store to look for some stuff that their predecessor had left to aid them in the Doomsday Protocol. After opening the hidden safe, to their surprise, they only saw an old whiskey bottle, and then they decided to make a toast to their fallen brethren. They drank until they were drunk, but Eggsy was able to see some words written on the bottle, which made them realize that they had to go to Kentucky in the USA. In Kentucky, they discovered an underground structure. However, as they were about to break in, they were stopped by a man in a cowboy's outfit who questioned them about who they are and how they were able to enter that place. They explained that they were from the Kingsmen, but the cowboy initiated an attack, and then the two parties attacked each other, but the cowboy was able to knock both Merlin and Eggsy out. When the two woke up, they realized they were tied to a chair, and the cowboy began to interrogate them, even up to the point that he threatened to shoot Harry, who was behind a glass room. He only stopped when a lady entered and told the cowboy that they were legit. The cowboy apologized and welcomed them to the Statesman, an independent intelligence agency, and then he introduced himself as Tequila and the lady as Ginger Ale. Upon being untied, Merlin and Eggsy immediately went to Harry's room, but upon getting there, they discovered that he did not know them. Ginger then explained to them that they saved Harry a year ago after he was shot in the head. However, due to the advanced medical operation performed to revive him, he now has partial amnesia, and now that Merlin and Eggy are now present, maybe Harry could remember his memory. Later, Eggsy and Tequila met with Champagne, the Statesman boss, and Champ told Eggsy that the Statesman will help them. After that, they discussed Charlie and how they will use Charlie's ex-girlfriend to track him down, as well as how it seems that an organization named the Golden Circle is behind Charlie. In the process of their meeting, Champ noticed that Tequila had some blue rashes on his face, and he told him to go check up on Ginger, after which Champ told Eggsy that he would now be working with Agent Whiskey to locate Charlie's ex-girlfriend at Glastonbury Music Festival. Meanwhile, Ginger and Merlin tried to drown Harry in order to make him remember his memory, but it failed. Back in England, Eggsy informed Tilda that he was going on a mission, and that he would be back as soon as possible. At the music festival in Glastonbury, Eggsy and Agent Whiskey locate Charlie's ex-girlfriend, but before they approached her, Agent Tequila told Eggsy that the tracker has to be injected into the bloodstream, and that it can only be implanted through a mucous membrane, like the nose or another part. Agent Whiskey talked with Charlie's ex-girlfriend, but he failed to get her attention, so Eggsy took over and interacted with Clara, Charlie's ex-girlfriend. Meanwhile, Miss Poppy, who was discussing with Charlie how nobody knew who she was, noticed that Angel, who just came in, had blue rashes on his face. She then asked him why he broke the rule of not testing the merchandise, and after that, she sent the robot dogs after him. Later during the night, they went to Clara's tent, where she wanted to be intimate with Eggsy. However, Eggsy told her he had to pee, and in the toilet, he called Tilda and told her that he needed her permission to sleep with another woman due to his mission. But things went wrong in the process as Tilda hung up on him, and when he came out of the toilet, he tried to refuse Clara's offer, but when he saw that she also had a golden circle mark in her back, he immediately decided to do the deed and successfully implanted the tracker in her. Back at the Statesman's base, Eggsy tried to convince Harry not to leave as Harry was his mentor, but he was unable to convince Harry. Then he got a dog similar to the dog Harry owned in the past, which he gave to Harry, after which he threatened to shoot the dog in Harry's hand. This sudden situation made Harry remember his memory. After that, they went to a bar where Eggsy equipped Harry with the new gadget they have. However, some men in the bar tried to insult Harry, and then Harry went to close the door as he planned on dealing with the men. But to his surprise, his coordination was off as the men were able to beat him. Agent Whiskey had to intervene on Harry's behalf as he defeated all the men with his lasso and whip. However, at that moment, a broadcast came up where Miss Poppy informed the world that she is the person behind the blue rashes, as the hard drugs she supplies have been infected, and within a short amount of time, if the people infected are not treated, they will die. The only way for the UN to get the antidote is that they should legalize hard drugs, and she and her colleagues are given full immunity. The US president then decided that they would pretend to agree with Miss Poppy, but they would allow all the hard drug users to die, and if there's no user, there's no drug. But a woman who was with the president did not agree with him. Unknowingly, the Statesman was listening to the conversation, and they decided that they had to find the antidote. At that moment, they tracked Clara, who was speaking with Charlie about how she was infected, and Charlie told her to come to a lab in Italy for the antidote. Eggsy, Whiskey, and Harry geared up and went to Italy for the antidote. Eggsy and Whiskey left Harry to guard their escape route as they went to the Golden Circle lab. Infiltrating the lab, Eggsy was able to steal an antidote sample before Charlie, who noticed him, could get to him. Eggsy and Whiskey escaped, but while they were on their ride, Charlie sabotaged it, and they crashed heavily. However, they were able to survive due to Whiskey's help, and when they were about to crash against some old people in a building, Eggsy released Whiskey's parachute, which slowed them down and did not make them crash against the old people. Eggsy then told Harry to meet them at the designated place. While they waited for Harry, Eggsy and Agent Whiskey checked out the antidote they stole, and as Eggsy went to open the door for Harry, who had arrived, Agent Whiskey saw some soldiers behind Harry aiming at them. At that moment, Agent Whiskey shouted at the two to get down, and he moved to push Eggsy away. And in the process, he knocked the antidote from Eggsy's hand, breaking the antidote. Eggsy got angry, and as the soldiers started reloading their guns, Whiskey went out of the shack and started killing the soldier while he expected Eggsy to cover him. However, Harry stopped Eggsy from doing that as he was suspicious that Whiskey was a double agent. Whiskey, on the other hand, was able to kill all the soldiers, and when he saw a trooper carrier coming, he ran back into the shack and complained about them not backing him up. After telling them that a trooper carrier was coming, he began to search for ammo in the bag, but he did not see any. He then tried to collect the gun from Harry, but Harry shot him instead, after which the new set of soldiers that had arrived started shooting them. Harry managed to pick up an item that he threw at the soldier outside, which caused an explosion, killing them all. After that, Eggsy got upset at Harry for his action as he used a tech that would save Whiskey temporarily, after which he told Merlin that Whiskey was caught in a crossfire and that he needed to go back to the lab to retrieve more antidotes. However, Charlie blew up the lab as he was leaving in a helicopter, leaving Eggsy no choice but to tell Merlin about the only lead they had, which was an Asian man. As Merlin and Ginger looked up the man, they discovered that an email had been sent from Cambodia to the lead's office. Meanwhile, they pretended to accept all the infected into a facility for care. However, it turns out they were all caged. He even caged his supervisor, who was infected too. After getting back to the Stateman's base, Whiskey was operated on, and Merlin, Eggsy, and Harry had a private meeting on how Harry shot Whiskey, and in the middle, Eggsy got a call from Tilda, who is now in the second stage of the infection. After the call, Eggsy told them that they had to leave now as he was anxious about Tilda's condition. Miss Poppy, on the other hand, had a lawyer help her sign some documents to give to the president, to whom she promised that as soon as he signed the document, she would release the antidote. On the plane that was carrying the Kingsman to Cambodia, they all equipped themselves with the necessary gadgets. Meanwhile, Whiskey, who had woken up from the operation, was given a shock so that he would remember his memory, and after he remembered everything, he found out that they had already left for Cambodia, so he went after them in a jet. On getting to Miss Poppy's hideout, before they could move further, Eggsy realized that he had stepped on a mine. Merlin froze the mine while he told them to take cover, but he replaced Eggsy instead on the mine, after which he told them to go on with the mission, which Eggsy reluctantly agreed to. After that, Merlin attracted the attention of the nearby guards, and he used the mine to kill himself and the guards. Eggsy and Harry, who witnessed this, were pained, but they continued the mission instead, as they started killing the guards as they further infiltrated the facilities. Different groups of soldiers went after them, but they were able to kill them all with their seamless teamwork. Meanwhile, Elton, a singer who was kidnapped by Miss Poppy, attacked his guards when he found out that some people might have come to his rescue. Noticing that all the guards were dead, Miss Poppy told Charlie to run away with the briefcase that controlled the release of the antidote. Harry then told Eggsy to run after Charlie, who had run with the case while he tried to get the access code from Miss Poppy. However, Miss Poppy sent a robot dog after Harry, for which he struggled with the dog, and also because Eggsy was fighting with Charlie over the case as Charlie had the upper hand. Harry, who was almost killed, was able to destroy the robot dog with Elrond's help, and Eggsy also took control of Charlie's mechanical arm and hung him from a tree. However, as Eggsy and Harry met up, Miss Poppy released the second robot dog, which went after Harry again while Charlie removed his mechanical arm so he could continue fighting Eggsy. Harry was later able to destroy the second dog with hot liquid gold, and Eggsy also defeated Charlie despite also using one arm to fight him. He then killed Charlie to placate himself for those he lost. After that, they went after Miss Poppy and told her to give them the access code, but she refused, after which they injected her with a drug that Merlin had synthesized, which made Miss Poppy's infection faster than the norm. As she was infected, she told them the code, and she died due to the fast-acting infection. As Harry was about to enter the code, he was stopped by Whiskey, who threatened to kill him if Eggsy and both of them did not drop the gun. He explained that he works for the president and he supports that all the druggies should die because his wife, who was pregnant with his child, was killed in a fight between two meth freaks. However, as they slid the case over to Whiskey, Eggsy activated a flash from his clock that blinded Whiskey, and Harry used the chance to release himself from the lasso. Then the three started fighting, and even though Whiskey was fighting against the two, he was not at a disadvantage. But ultimately, he was killed through the meat mincer, after which Eggsy entered the access code. The antidote was released worldwide, and the people that the US president caged were released, after which the president's subordinate that was also caged made sure the president was arrested and impeached. Agent Tequila was also cured, and Champ declared that the Kingsman and the Statesman are now brothers, and now they both run the liquor business together. Then Ginger was appointed as the next Whiskey. The movie ends with Eggsy's wedding, with Tilda and Harry thinking about the past and their future, after which Agent Tequila also came to England in a suit.